Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable all of the teacher, the Honorable our principal, and respectable all of audience, and also my beloved friends. First of all, let's thank to Allah, the Almighty, who has given us mercy and blessing, so we can meet together in this blessing place with good condition, without any problem and obstacle. Secondly, may peace be upon to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has brought us from the darkness era into the brightness era of life. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nurul Aulia from 12th grade. Standing here in front of you all, I would like to explain about prohibition on spending money. Next. Wal hajru ala sitatin as-sabiyyi wal majnuni wasafihil mudabiri limalihi wal muflisil ladhi takabat sudduyunu wal maridi fi mazada ala sulusi wal abdil ladhi lam yu'adhan lahu fit tijarah wa tasarrufu sabiyyi wal majnuni wasafihi ghairu sabihi wa tasarruful muflisi yasihu fi dhimmatihi duna yani malihi wa tasarruful maridi fi mazada ala sulusi mawqufun ala ijaratil warasati min ba'dihi wa tasarruful abdi yaqu fi dhimmatihi yutsba'u bihi idza atiqa. Next. Prohibition on spending money. The prohibition on spending money is only carried out only 6 people. Namely, the first is children. They are not yet mature, not of legal age, and lack legal capacity to manage wealth. And the second is crazy people. They lack sound judgment and unable to act wisely. The third is stupid people who waste their money, wasting money at will. The fourth is people who are bankrupt who bear a lot of debt. The fifth is 6 people who are worried in terms of wills donate more than a third of their wealth. The sixth is servant of slaves who are not permitted to trade by their master. Some explanation. Number 1, spending by children, meat and science is illegal. Number 2, expenditures by a bankrupt person are legal on their own account, provided they are no expenditures on asset being supervised. Number 3 is expenditures for a sick person in an amount greater than one-third of his asset are handed over with the permission of his heirs after he dies. Number 4, spending on a slave without the permission of his master is illegal. And all consequences are his own responsibility, meaning that he will be prosecuted after being freed if during his processes he damaged something. The conclusion in this pasal is this prohibits 6 group of people from freely spending money to prevent harm and ensure justice. They are children, the infant, the mature, the wasteful, the bankrupt, the seriously ill who make a will exceeding one-third by their wealth without her consent, and the last slaves without their master permission. And the conclusion in this pasal, this prohibition reflects Islam consent for protecting wealth and promoting responsible financial behavior. I think that's all from me. I do apologize for any mistake that I have done before. Hopefully, what I have taught is useful for us. Thank you for your attention. I'm Nur Aulia. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The next presentation will be delivered by Raihan Fauzan Ramdan, student from 12th grade Social Science SMIT IQBS.
Cek. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable our Principal, the Honorable all of the teacher, and also my beloved friends. First of all, let's thank to Allah the Almighty, who has given us mercy and blessing. So, we can meet together in this blessing class with good condition without any problem and obstacle. Secondly, my peace be upon to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has brought us from the darkness era into the brightness era of life. Let me introduce myself. My name is Raihan Fauzan Ramdan. Standing here, I am in front of you all. I would like to explain about Hiwala. Next. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa syara'itul hiwala arba'atu asya'a. Ridha'ul muhil wa qabulul muhal wa kaunul haqqi mustaqiran fid dhimmah. Wa in fakuma fi dhimmatil muhil wal muhalu alaihi fil jinsi wan naw'i wal hululi wa ta'jilu wa tabarru'i biha dhimmatul muhil. Definition of hiwala. Hiwala is a contract in Islamic law that means the transfer of obligation to pay a debt from one party or the debtor to another party who is willing and able to bear the debt. This contract is made based on mutual consent and does not eliminate the debt, but merely transfers the responsibility of its repayment. In victim, the party who transfers the debt is called muhil. The party who receives the transfer of the debt is called muhal alaih. The party to whom the debt is owed, the recipient of the payment is called muhal. What the status of hiwala in Islam? Hiwala is permitted mubah in Islamic law. In fact, according to the majority of scholars, it is valid and allowed as long as it fulfills the condition and pillar established in Islamic jurisprudence or fiqh. One of the evidence that from the basis of hiwala legal status is a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, delaying the repayment by someone who is able to pay is an act on injustice. If any of you is referred to a wealthy person for payment, then accept the referral narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. There are four conditions of hiwala, namely willing to move, transparent reception, The condition of the right is still under the responsibility. Dependent agreements receive transfer in type maturity immediately. Wait not. Fearing the dependencies, the right of the transfer. Next one. Next one. Thank you. I think that's all for me. I do apologize for any mistake that I have done before. Hopefully, what I have taught as useful for us. Thank you for attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Lil salis sayuqaddamu min kibali Irfanurul Aulia binti Bapak Ajat Sudrajat dan almarhum Ibu Iis Nurul Wahidah Tolibat Minas Sofi Tani Asyar Kismu Ulumi Al-Istimaiyah di Madrasati SMIT IQBS.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable teachers, respectable audience, and all my beloved friends, first of all, let's thank to Allah the Almighty who has given us mercy and blessings, so we can meet together in this blessing place with good conditions, without any problem and obstacles. Secondly, may peace be upon to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has brought us from the darkness era into the brightness era of life. Let me introduce myself. My name is Irfanura Aulia. Standing here in front of you all, I would like to explain about pregnant woman who don't fast from the book of Takrib by Imam Abu Shuja. Next. Al-fasil saminu wa hiya al-hamilu allati la tasumu wal hamilu wal murdi'u in khafata ala anfusihima aftarata wa alaihima al-qada'u wa in khafata ala auladihima aftarata wa alaihima al-qada'u wal kafaratu an kulli yaumin muddun wa huwa ritlun wa thulusun bil iraqi wal maridu wal musafiru safaran tawilan yuftirani wa yakdiani. Next. In Indonesian, pregnant women who don't fast. Pregnant women and women who are breastfeeding, if they are worried that their health will be affected, may break their fast, not fasting, and both of them must make up the fast. If both are worried about their child's health problems, they may break their fast and must make up the fast and pay kafarat for each day 1 mud, which is a half Iraqi kati or 6 ounces. Sick people and travelers who travel far may both break their fast and must make up the fast. So in these chapters, there are 2 conclusions. The first, pregnant women and women who are breastfeeding, if they are worried that their health will be affected by doing fasting, for example, like dehydration, lack of breast milk, or anything else, they may to break their fast, not fasting. And then they must make up the fast. Make up the fast means to perform the missed fasting days after Ramadan. It is called Qada in Arabic, and it's obligatory for those who missed fasting. And the second is pregnant women and women who are breastfeeding. If they are worried about child health problems, for example, like baby become ill or weak, they may break their fast. Then, in this case, they have to do 2 things. The first, they have to must make up the fast. And the second is they have to pay kafarah for each day 1 mud or 6 ounces of staple food like rice, bread, or wheat. And the third is sick people and travelers who travel far, they may break their fast too, and they have to Must, and they must make up the fast when they're able. That's all from me. I do apologize for any mistake that I have done before. Happily, what I've told is useful for us. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Tanggapan akan selanjutnya nyata, Ananda Sultan Hanafi Al-Umari, putra di almarhum Bapak Sumarna sang Ibu Siti Zainatul Asror, siswa kelas 8 SMPT IQBS.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable our Principal, the Honorable of all teachers, and also my beloved friends. First of all, let's thank to Allah the Almighty who has given us mercy and blessing so we can meet together in this blessing place with good condition and without any problem and obstacle. Secondly, may peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bring us from the darkness era into brightness era of life. Let me introduce myself. My name is Sultan Hanafi Al-Umari. I'm from 9.2 grade. Today, I want to present the topic on the obligatory prayers. Next one. Kitabus Salat. Salatul mafrudatu khamsun. الظهر وأول وقتها زوال الشمس وآخره إذا صار ذل كل شيء مثله بعد الزوال والعصر وأول وقتها الزيادة على ذل المثل وآخره في الاختيار إلى ذل المثلين وفي الجوائز إلى غروب الشمس والمغرب ووقتها واحد وهو غروب الشمس وبمقدر ما يؤذن ويتوضأ ويستر الأورة ويقيم الصلاة ويصلي 5 ركعات والعشاء أول وقتها إذا غاب الشفق الأحمر وآخره في الاختيار إلى ثلاث الليل وفي الجوائز إلى طلوع الفجر الثاني والصبح وأول وقتها طلوع الفجر الثاني وآخره في الاختيار إلى الأصفر وفي الجوائز إلى طلوع الشمس. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what is prayer in Islam? Okay, I want to explain what is prayer in Islam. In Islam, prayer is first specifically to Salah, which is a prescribed act of worship to perform at 5 set times daily. It involves is physical action like standing, bowing, prostrating, and sitting, and recitation of Quranic verses and praises of Allah having intention or niyyah to perform it. It's not just ritual, but a way to maintain having connection with God or Allah, purify the soul and discipline one's life. The obligatory prayer, the 5 daily prayer are obligatory or fard. The first is Dhuhr or midday. The second is Asar or afternoon. The third is Maghrib or sunset. The fourth is Isha or night. The 5 is Fajr or dawn or Subuh. The obligatory prayer, of course, having start and end time at all time. Start and end times of the 5 daily prayers are Dhuhr or midday, start to dawn and end before sunrise. Asar or afternoon, start is after zenith and shadow or object light. The Maghrib or sunset, start is shadow or object before and before sunset. The Isha prayer or night, start is sunset and red twilight ends. The last one, Fajr or Subuh or dawn, start is red twilight ends and before Fajr. This chapter, of course, having conclusion. Conclusion in this chapter is Muslims are required to perform 5 daily obligatory prayers. Each prayer has a specific time window based on the sun's position. The first is Fajr, begins at through dawn and ends before sunrise. The second is Dhuhr, start after the sun passes its zenith and ends, when an object shadow equal its leg. The third is Asr, begins when the shadow exceeds the object, like to like or twice in the Hanafi school or and before sunset. The fourth is Maghrib, starts just after the sunset and ends when the red twilight disperses. The five is Isha, begins after the red twilight fades and lasts until the start of Fajr. Quotes of the day. Indeed, with hardship will be ease. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Lil ardil khamis sayuqaddamu min kibali Muhammad Maulana Majid bin Asep Saibul Anwar wa Ibu Ai Ani Sutarni Tolibu min Sofi Tasi bi Madrasati SMPT IQBS.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable, our principal, the Honorable of the teacher, and also my beloved friend. First of all, let's thank Allah the Almighty who has given us mercy and blessing so we can meet together in this blessing place with good condition, without any problem and obstacle. Secondly, may peace be upon to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has brought us from the darkness era into the brightness era of life. Let me introduce myself, Muhammad Maulana Majid. Today, I'm going to go to the topic recommended bed. Faslun, waliktisalatu al-masnunatu sab'atu asyara ghuslan. Ghuslul jumu'ati wal idaini wal istisqai wal khusufi wal kusufi wal ghuslu min ghislil mayyiti wal kafiri idza aslama wal majnuni wal mugma alaihi idza afaqa wal ghuslu indal ihrami walidukhuli makkata walil wuqufi bi arafata waliramyil jumari thalathi walit tawafi walisa'yi walidukhuli madinati Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Conclusion. The 17th Sunnah bed serves as a means of spiritual and physical purification. reflecting Islam's emphasis on clean lines and respect for sacred occasions. Touch not compulsory, they carry great reward and demonstrate a Muslim love for the practice of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, enhancing both personal hygiene and the sanctity of worship. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.